if I were Keegan, I would have picked myself. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another BestBall Roundtable. We are here to talk about the upcoming Ryder Cup at Bethpage Black. I've got my friends David Kirsch and Josh Decker here with me. Jonathan is unable to be here for the preview. We might be able to get him on the recap show to talk about what he saw. But as we jump into this thing, quick shout out to our friends at Summit Golf Brands, Beach Ratty, Zero Restriction, Fairway and Green. If you use BestBall20 at any of those sites, you can get 20% off your order. I know they've got a lot of Ryder Cup gear on their site, so check those out. Also, many thanks to our friends at Western Birch. You could take logos like the beautiful Ryder Cup logo, throw it on there. Actually, I don't know if you can do that, but they can fully do that. Throw on the red, white, and blue, or the blue and yellow of Europe, and have some excellent tees. So check out westernbirch.com. Guys, as we jump into this thing, we are recording this on September 3rd. Mr. Decker is now the proud podcast host of Off the Deck. Josh, give everybody a real quick what Off the Deck is all about.
I've told a couple people that it is a podcast that I am the captain of, and we do not have a rudder on that ship. So it is kind of a free-for-all, let's talk life, golf, the intersection of those two things. We've had a lot of fun. We've had stories already about golf trips. We've had a cigar aficionado. We've had, and now I'm going to get confused with people we already have lined up to come on the show. So it's been a blast already to record. Had a lot of fun just with the first few guests we've already had. But yeah, it is a rudderless ship that I am the captain of. And hopefully, unlike the two captains we have in this upcoming Ryder Cup, But yeah, it's been a blast so far. So really appreciate being part of the Best Ball family and excited to see where this journey takes us.
Yeah, man. No, it's been fun. We at this point we have released one episode today, right? Yeah. We've got another one scheduled for next week. I will throw out it's the VP of Engineering for Lab Golf, right? So Lab Putters. Really cool story. I learned a lot. I think I learned a lot. But it definitely makes me want a lab putter for sure. But no, you're crushing it. So anyway, Ryder Cup coming up at the end of this month. We now have the captain's picks for both teams, so both teams are completely filled. And so why don't we start, before we jump into the captain's picks and the teams itself, let's start with the course, right? So we're back on American soil. We're coming off a loss. The U.S. is coming off a loss. They're in Rome, where they lost 16.5 to 11.5. It's gone back and forth. I went and I know, Kirsch, you probably have all the stats as well. The last time a team won, the visiting team won, was back in 2012 at Medina. Yeah, so it's been a while. And the last time the U.S. won in Europe, which this one is not in Europe, but the last time U.S. won in Europe was 93 at the Belfry. So it has been a while, since 11 years since either team has won on foreign soil. It's kind of gone back. So, if recent history repeats itself, the U.S. should be in good shape, but we'll see about that. So back in America, at Bethpage Black. Difficult course. What do you guys think? Kirsch, have you played?
Yeah, so it's a few years ago now, but a buddy and I flew up there for the weekend. I think the policy, it was then, I know that there's been some issues with tee times there of late, but I think that's straightened out a little bit. But back then it was, if you had an out-of-state driver's license, you were eligible to get one tee time every 30 days or 60 days at that point. But you could do the walk-in line. So we both did the application, got our licenses in. One of us got the Saturday tee time, one of us got the Sunday tee time, and we purposely did the Saturday midday and the Sunday in the afternoon, and we camped out Saturday night. We were in the third parking spot, I believe, and the first two cars wanted to go play the red course. They were locals, so they went and played the red course. So we got to choose. There were 10 different tee times that morning, and we chose the very first one. So we broke the dew. On the course, we were paired up with a New York City fireman and a New York City elevator repairman, and it was it was an interesting round. It was we got to hear a lot of great stories, but yeah, I started off birdieing the first hole the first day. Hit driver 5 iron to about 6 inches, tapped it in, and probably should have walked off there, but decided to go across the street and keep on playing. But yeah, I think we both had fun. I think our only thing that we would have changed is we would have maybe on the very last round moved up a tee box. There's only three tees. It's blue, white, and red, and the blue is basically where the championship tees are for everything. So we played blue straight away, straight around every time. I think we shot high 70s, low 80s. It's an interesting setup for a tournament like this, and I don't know if we want to get into that right this second, but it's set up in a way that the first hole is on one side of a road. You cross over and you essentially play 2 through 14, and then you come back and you play 15, 16, 17, 18. I think 15, 16, 17, 18. I think 1 and 18. I think it's going to be out of control. That could be a different topic about the fans. I'm very, very genuinely worried about that. But it's really hard to get to 10, 11, 12. 8 goes downhill, 9 comes back. But all of the holes over there, especially 2 through 10, I believe, 2 through 9, you go through and you are hole by hole by hole. There's nothing that's routed next to each other. You're just kind of hole by hole by hole by hole. And then I think 10 and 11 or 11 and 12 go parallel to each other. They're just two behemoth par fours. And one goes out, one comes back, and then you kind of route your way back through the trees, and then you end up back on the other side of the road. 15 is fantastic. 16 is you know, 16 is a great, or 17 is a par three. 16 is
Hmm.
almost a drivable four. 15 is a long four. There's really good stuff. I think it's going to be weird for the crowds in the early part of matches. Once you get off one, there's going to be so many people there, and then it's just going to be very difficult for crowds to follow the golf, I think.
So
Interesting. Well, we'll
I
get
did
in.
not.
Well, yeah,
Yep.
we'll get into the actual specifics of the crowd and their impact. But Josh, go ahead.
Yeah, so I have not been fortunate enough to play it, but I went to the 2019 PGA that Sunday that DJ tried to run down Brooks Koepka. And my wife and I were there. It was our second Sunday PGA to go to, or Sunday at the PGA to attend. And
That's
we,
Spieth's Wikipedia yellow, right? He got a
yeah,
third
yeah.
place there.
And so we crossed the street, and we walked. I guess might have been to 3 or 4, and we both looked at each other and were like, "This is grueling." And there's no concessions or anything. And we had paid to have some hospitality. And I looked at her. I was like, "You want to turn back around and go back to the Chase Sapphire Lounge?" And she's like, "Yes, I do." So I can only imagine. And that was for a PGA Championship, which is a massive field. So now you're going to condense it to 4 matches in the morning, 4 matches in the afternoon, other than Sunday. And yeah, I agree with you, David. Like it was not an enjoyable walk because a year or two before we had done the PGA at Quail Hollow, which was a breeze of a walk with lots of holes going back and forth, and you're kind of all right there in the middle of things. And Bethpage is very different. And even the hospitality that we're talking about that's running up 18 that we had back at that 2019 PGA, I've seen the imagery from our good friend Jeff Marsh, and there's where they have skyboxes and everything. You're not going to be able to see anything. You don't have visibility of that 18th green, assuming a match makes it to the 18th. So I share in a lot of concerns that we're going to talk about later on this evening. But yeah, it is a grind of a walk.
It was almost built that arena is built for the first tee shot. I mean, like it goes around 18, but it's designed for you to see number one because one is a big dog leg right, and they turn part of the red course into the driving range. The driving range becomes parking and
Right.
hospitality and all of that stuff. But you know, I didn't even talk. Yeah, once you go across the street, that's where the hills come in too.
Mm-hmm.
One, 115, 16, 17, 18. There's a little bit of elevation change, but it's, you tee off on one, you walk down about 50 feet, and then you're flat for a while. But two, you go back uphill. Three is a flat par three. Four is a massive uphill, downhill par five. Five, you go back uphill. Six, you go back downhill. Seven, you go back uphill. And it's like that until you get to 10.
So, do you think the course will neutralize the home course advantage?
Uh, Maybe
No,
not
because
because
people are
it's New York.
crazy. Yeah, it's New York.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they're gonna sell a lot of tickets because it's such a big ballpark. There's going to be a lot more availability because they're gonna say people can spread out. And
Okay.
it's going to be something that I think that it'll spread out. I think it's going to be raucous. I just think it's going to be
I've got a
over the
customer
top.
who
But
grew up playing Bethpage. He was at on Long Island this past weekend seeing family, and I asked him if he was going, and he had a conflict, but he said tickets are still going for north of $1,000. So they might be flooding the market with tickets, but it's not at just grab them off the street and go prices.
No, it's highly expensive.
And
And you thought when they
the logistics aren't great either. I mean, like when I went to that PGA, you had to take a taxi to a train station and hop on a train for 15 or 20 minutes. Then you got off the train. Then you hopped on a bus. And for that PGA, they had paved part of the red and yellow courses for parking and bus turnarounds. So, yeah, it's just, I mean, it is, especially if you're coming from the city, I mean, it's not an easy trek to get out there. But people are going to do it, and it's going to be mayhem. Yeah, like I said, I'm concerned about crowds and just the whole
they said if you're
experience.
coming from the city, it's a train, something else, and then there's three modes of transportation that you're going to take, and they're telling people to plan for 4 hours. And
wow.
it's 1,200. I just looked it up right now. If you're on the secondary market, Friday's $1,300, Saturday's 12 and some change, and
Did you doubt me?
Sunday. No, it's higher than even you said. Sunday, if you want to go to the Samuel Ryder Cup Pavilion, it's $9,000.
Yeah. Where is that? On 18 where you might not see anything?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's the thing too about the Ryder Cup. You don't want to be in a seat.
No.
That was the best part of being at Valhalla is bouncing around, and we were going from hole to hole to hole. You never know what you're going to see. You want to get ahead of people. You want to do all of that stuff. And yeah, you don't want to sit in a seat for
Yeah.
too long.
It just seems like I know it would be awesome to go to a Ryder Cup as a fan just to experience it. And I would love to go, as a media and be there on site to talk to people and ask good questions and stuff. But like y'all said, 4 matches in the morning, 4 in the afternoon, like that's not a lot of golf to watch. Like it's hard enough to go to a regular tournament and feel like you're missing a lot of stuff because you can't see everything. But to go and know that, well, there's only like 4 things going on at one time, that makes it really tough
And it
to
condenses
think
the
about
crowd.
spending
Because
that kind of money.
yeah, you've got 40 or 50,000 people, assuming they all make the trek like we were talking about once you cross the road. That entire crowd is all right there. And when I
Yeah.
went to Hazeltine in 2016, yeah, you're bouncing around, but you're trying to find high points and places just where you can see a shot. And hopefully, I mean, they had the little the small transmitter radios where they were doing broadcasts of each match, which was fantastic to be able just to
Yeah.
know what was going on around the course while you were following a match. But yeah, I went in 2016, went Saturday and Sunday, loved it. I think I'm good. I don't know that I ever want to go to another Ryder Cup just because of the minimal viewing and the challenge it is to watch the golf that's in front of you.
See, and I've done the world. I've been to the World Series, been to the Masters, U.S. Open, PGA, done NBA Finals, both All-Star game. Like I've had a very fortunate Sunday at Valhalla in '08 is the single greatest sporting event I've ever been to,
Oh, I
and
would take a
it's
Sunday for sure.
and I don't
Yeah,
know. I
Sunday's
don't
different.
know
I
if
think like
there's.
Sunday's kind of an
I
outlier.
don't. Yeah, I don't know if there's a way. I almost don't want to go again because I don't think you can replicate just how awesome that between Patrick Reed and Sergio getting or Anthony Kim and Sergio getting into it. It was him closing him out, walking away, Azinger on the cart, jumping around like a crazy man. It was really an electric thing. But I don't know if you can replicate it at a place like Bethpage because you can't get around from hole to hole. So I'll
I,
be curious to see.
yeah, it will be curious to see. I would go somewhere like the Walker Cup at they're playing at
Cyprus?
Cyprus. I would
Yeah.
go there in a heartbeat. For sure. So, all right. So we'll get to the fans here in a second. And Kirsch, maybe your thoughts on some of that and the impact they might have or not. But back to the course itself, Bethpage Black, you know, extremely difficult course, only for highly skilled golfers, right? How much will this course impact the play, and how do you guys like it as a match play course?
I
Kirsch,
like
you're the
every
one that's
course as a
played it.
match play course. Yeah, I it's not going to it doesn't sound like they have the rough grown in a way that's going to favor, necessarily the US over anybody else. I think Europe has proven they've got long ball hitters that hit the ball just as far and just as inaccurate as our guys do. So it's really going to come down to that second shot in the putting. I feel like the US is set up better there, but it's going to be less drama. It's going to be more on the greens is where you're going to get the drama. It's going to be about putting and chipping and less about, oh man, this guy's way out of play, in wherever the French one is. The name just completely blank. But you had guys hitting 5 iron off the first tee and hitting it in the water, and there was water on all these holes and
Shout
lost
out Phil
balls and
trying to
great. I don't see that happening at Bethpage. That's right.
God,
That's
that
right.
was so brutal to
So I
watch.
just don't see that kind of I just don't see that kind of chaos at
Yeah.
Bethpage. I think there's going to be a lot of matches that get back to 15 and finish 15, 16, 17.
Yeah. Well, I guess then you said chaos. So let's now talk about the fans, right? Everybody's talked about, oh, the New York crowd is going to be really rowdy, things like that. Um, are you a fan of that? Are you a fan of the cheering for the home side, the booing, the what? Like, I'm kind of not in favor of it. I don't know what you guys think.
So the one thing, and I texted you guys ahead of time that I had a take about the event. Take cell phones out, remove cell phones, and this event becomes spectacular. You get so many people that want to video themselves yelling at Rory. If I if I had $1 for every text I got back in 2016 when Rory had that fan kicked out of being like, "Oh, why are you yelling at Rory? Is that you? I know you got kicked out." And that was 10 years ago, basically. And I feel like it's gotten
You've
out of
grown up a
control.
lot since then.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate it. Yeah, I've matured quite a bit. Um, it's gotten out of control, and when you remove cell phones and people trying to capture themselves, getting a clip of doing whatever or yelling in whatever backswing that player, that's the kind of stuff that I'm definitely over in the game of golf, and I feel like we're heading towards kind of the boiling point, and I'm afraid of what may happen this coming year at Bethpage.
Yeah, I'm all for good banter. I mean, I still think back to that first tee. You get there early and you're waiting, and the crowd is sitting there, and there's a pocket of Europeans, and the US crowd sitting there going USA, USA, and then they do the Olay, and then they do USA, and then they sing another song, and then by the time it goes back and forth the third time, they're like, "You only have one song because all we ever said was USA."
Yep.
So there was good banter back and forth. There was a competitiveness about it, but also an ingest, a good spirit behind it. And I think it was Bryson that said something, of course, I'm going to bring my legion, and it's going to be impossible for people to play against us out, and like, I self-admittedly not YouTube golf guy. Don't always get it in the way that we're supposed to get it. Um, but I don't know if I need a lot of bros out there slamming beers and just being obnoxious all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I like the first tee. I like like the noise, like when the guy's doing his warm up swings. You're like, oh, and they make the sounds as they take their practice swings and stuff. But then, like a respectful banter, I think is what we appreciate. Yeah, the bro culture, the almost picking a fight. Josh, I agree with you, man. I think it will probably cross the line at least once this weekend or during the Ryder Cup. Hopefully not, but
Just think back to Wisconsin when Rory's in tears Sunday afternoon and he's watching people finish and he knows he didn't get it done. He knows they didn't get it done, and it's crushing him. The Wisconsin fans did not pick on him. They embraced it. That added to things that people liked about Rory. Sergio couldn't re-grip his club in 2002 without getting heckled off of every single shot. It was 23 years ago. I mean, if any of these, it's just going to be, ugh. Yeah. I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah, I hope so as well. Um, all right, well, let's shift to the teams, right? So we've had both teams now revealed. U.S. team did it first about a week ago from when we were recording, and then the European team did it just yesterday. So let's run through that real quick. We already had the qualifiers for the U.S. Scheffler, Spawn, Xander, Russell Henley, Harris English, and Bryson. And then he added Sam Burns, Patrick Cantley, Ben Griffin, Colin Morikawa, Justin Thomas, and Cameron Young. So let's start with the U.S. team. Did they get it right, in your opinion? And I threw out this question. Hopefully, you guys maybe thought about it. But if you were the captain, is there one person you would have picked for somebody else? So if you pick somebody that you said, yeah, this person should have been on the team, you got to pick somebody to come off. So what do you think about the U.S. team?
Josh, I'll let you go first.
A lot of rookies. A lot of rookies. And granted, two of those guys qualified automatically, right? Just on merit of play. So it's not like they were captain's picks. But when you look at that, the combined Ryder Cup appearances of the U.S. team is 23 compared to 43 on the Euro side. So it's just, I think it's a young team. I don't know who I would have replaced him with. I might have, if I'm the captain, would have replaced him with myself. It'd be Colin Morikawa, because I think his play coming into this is not great. I think Keegan, despite what I was hoping for, I think he made the right call. But yeah, Colin Morikawa's game is not exactly up to snuff when we're thinking about going against the Euros, who I think are despite the OWGR average being slightly lower, I think they're a stacked team when you look at just the history and how many guys have been in this arena and experienced it.
Okay. Kirsch, what do you think about the U.S. team?
Yeah, it's funny. I'm more concerned with some of the automatic bids than I am than the captain's picks, because a lot of them made hay just off of a couple good weeks in major championships. Bryson wouldn't be on this team if it wasn't for Rory not getting it done at Pinehurst, or it'd be really close if he was, because he didn't have a good year.
It'd be really close if Rory hadn't screwed up at Pinehurst.
If Rory wins Pinehurst, Bryson probably finished like 11th in points.
Whoa. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same thing with JJ Spawn. He's 15th if he doesn't win the US Open this year. There's Xander, love him or hate him, think about him all the time, never think about him at all. He didn't make East Lake this year. He finished third in points, I think, or fourth, but he didn't make East Lake. So he has no form. All of his points came from the two majors he won last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, because of the way they do the points. So I've got a lot more concern over the automatic bid guys than I do the captain's picks. I think the mistake was made 18 months ago when they made Keegan the captain, because I think he's one of the 12 best American golfers right now. And I think that was probably the bigger mistake. But as far as who you pick, I mean, who are you going to go get? I like Maverick McNeely a lot. A lot of his season was early this year. He played well on the West Coast swing, built up a lot of points there. Hasn't really done a lot, and it's not a good course fit for Bethpage. Goddard, he had 2 great weeks, and I bet you 50% of the people who pay attention to the Ryder Cup didn't even know Chris Goddard was a possibility until the Scottish Open. There just wasn't a ton on both sides. I don't think there were a lot of options from a snub standpoint.
Yeah. If I were Keegan, I would have picked myself, because, and here's my take. If you're a captain and you're just the captain and your team loses, you're going to catch a lot of flack, right? So you you probably looked at it, and like you said, he was or is one of the 12 best American players right now. I would have said, you know what, I'm going to do it because if we lose, I'm going to, catch flack anyway. But if we win, then I'll be a playing captain who helped us win the Ryder Cup.
That's why I wanted him to
That
do
would
it.
have been my
Because,
take.
oh my, like just all the storylines that would have come with him being a playing captain. And there's only so
Yeah.
much that the captain of a Ryder Cup team does in between matches. They're not out there calling plays. I saw someone on
Yeah.
X.
He's not going to say, hey, hit your 3-iron instead of your 4-iron.
Right.
Right?
Like their last captain did.
Zach Johnson did.
Yeah, we saw how that worked out.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just pairing those guys together. But I was so hoping he would pick himself because I wanted the possibility of those just incredible storylines of, like you said, Robby, like what if he is the reason we lost it? Like, whoa, how like the weight that would carry. He might just exile
Yeah.
himself. And then the flip side of that coin
But
is
does anybody want to win the Ryder Cup more than he does?
I don't think so.
And that's why he didn't pick himself.
But is that the right call, though?
Yeah, if you know you're one of the best
You can't
12,
do both. Can't do both.
I think you
I will
could.
die. Considering Rory, Tiger, every single person involved in the Ryder Cup has said you can't do it. Or the President's Cup, Trevor Immelman says you cannot do it. You cannot do
well, he
both
was
things
wrong.
effectively.
Tiger went down to Royal Melbourne and waxed him. I know President's Cup's different, but
You and I could lead that team in the President's Cup. Like, let's. We can't compare them. There's a reason I said Ryder Cup.
I know I get it. I get it. I just
But even Tiger worked. He only was going to play 2 matches anyway. Like and if you are one of the 12 best Americans, and let's say I think Keegan's the 8th best American right now, I need you more than 2 matches on Friday. I need you to play 3, and you can't do that as a playing captain because you've got to be able to do some of the other stuff, and you got to only play in the afternoons, and there's all these different elements that go to it. That not picking himself, he was never going to pick himself. I think everybody was wrong. I don't think as soon as he said last year, and this is kind of my big rant, but as soon as he said last year that he would not pick himself unless he was in the top 6, I think he's known that all along. And I think he intentionally, there's nobody. This is the guy that if you think about the movie Miracle, there is nobody on that team who has probably watched that movie at more points in their life than him. Keegan Bradley is a sports fanatic. He is a junkie. He loved it all. He loves competing. And the thing that he took away from that movie is when they were sitting there talking and they had the Boston guys versus the Minnesota guys. And they said, and the doctor looks over at one point and goes, well, if they hate him, then they won't have time to hate each other. And I guarantee he took that and said, I'm going to take every single bullet about who's going to be the captain's pick, and I'm going to make sure that everybody thinks it's me. And that way Sam Burns could play worry-free the last 2 months. Morikawa could play worry-free. Sounds like Morikawa and JT found out about 60 days before that they were on the team no matter what they did coming up. But I think that a lot of these guys got to play worry-free, and I feel like it was an entirely intentional move by him to draw all the attention over here, let these guys play free. I was never going to pick myself. I told you all that I wasn't going to pick myself, and I'm sticking to that. I just think it was entirely intentional, and I think that you cannot have people like Tiger Woods, Trevor Immelman, Rory McIlroy, Dodo Molinari, Luke Don, like you can't have the who's who saying like this literally can't be done, man. Like it's too big of a job. And then go pick yourself. Like you just can't. And
So-
I think it was a ploy from the beginning, and I think he did the right thing. And I applaud the heck out of him because he got jobbed. There's no way that he should have been named the captain, and he should have been on the Ryder Cup team last time. And ZJ jobbed him and ripped him off and we all got to see it, and it was crushing. And he would want to be on this team more than anything, but because he wants to win the Ryder Cup more than anything, he did the thing that puts them in the best position, which is to just be the captain.
So I thought you were going to say that he intentionally made sure he wasn't in the top six. So
No,
do you think
I
he
think
would
if
have?
he would, I think
Would
if
you
he
think
would have,
would
if
he
he would have,
recused himself?
oh yeah,
Okay.
no, I think he would have played if it was in the top six because they got the rules changed, and I think that he felt like if I'm in the top six, I've really, really earned it, but I'm not going to pick myself. And if you
You
look
think
at
he would
how
have been
he's
a
played
playing
since the
captain if he had
Travelers,
qualified?
yeah, because I think they changed the rules so that
They
Snedeker
did.
could talk to players and
Right.
do those things. And after he wins the Travelers, it's a possible if he goes out and does something well in the Open Championship or in the playoffs, he puts himself really firmly in the competition. He just didn't play well.
Yeah.
He just didn't play well at all after the Travelers. And honestly, the only reason he was in the top 12 is because Tommy three putted the last hole. If Tommy doesn't three putt that hole and he wins earlier on, then he's not even in that position.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think he's smart enough to see all of that and know I'll just take the distraction onto me. I'm going to let everybody else play free. They're going to be communicated with, which by all accounts, everybody kind of knew the plan. It probably did come down to Burns and, you know, maybe Mav. I don't know how far down the list that they went, but it was probably a 12-13. But I just don't think there were that many other guys. And I think he had already told everybody, like, hey, I'm going to keep acting like it. So they ask me all the questions, but I'm not going to pick myself.
Yeah. I will give it to him though that even though, like we said, or like you say, that it's hard to do both. Most of the time when we see these captains, granted they're not somewhat still in the prime of their career, he has played well over the last 2 years. Won tournaments and stuff, which, Luke Donald, roughly the same age, and haven't seen him really
Oh,
on a leaderboard in a long time. So, yeah, speaking of Luke Donald, he made his choice for his picks. The European team: Rory, Bob McIntyre, Tommy Fleetwood, Justin Rose, Rasmus Højgaard, Tyrrell Hatton, Ludwig Oberg, Matt Fitzpatrick, Victor Hovland, Shane Lowry, Sepp Straka, and John Rahm. If that sounds familiar, I was not reading off of the Ryder Cup team in Rome. There's a Højgaard difference. So,
That's it.
but there are 11 of the 12 that were on the winning team in Rome. And you can basically say like 12B was there because Rasmus was there with his twin brother the entire time as part of all the activities. So they've got an experienced team. You guys have already mentioned that. What do you guys think of Luke Donald's team?
It's wild to me that this is Rory's eighth Ryder Cup. Like I saw that number and it
Yeah,
shouldn't shock me, but like looking at it on paper, I'm like, wait, he's played in this will be his eighth Ryder Cup. Like
and
that
Justin
would
Thomas I think is at 4.
yeah yeah he's
Justin
at the
Thomas has
most.
4. That's the most for the Americans.
Yep. Yeah,
Yeah,
Rory at
8.
eight
That's,
or
that's
eight
pretty
is going
good.
to be Rory's eighth. Justin Rose it'll be his seventh, and then you've got Fleetwood, Rahm, Hatton, Matty, Fitzpatrick. It'll be their fourth.
Yeah, yeah. What do you think? I mean, is the European team right? If you were Captain Luke Donald, would you have picked somebody else? I mean, Harry Hall, would anybody?
He's
Harry
not in the
Hall
boys club.
has been the best putter. Yeah, but he's been the best putter on the planet. But it goes back to, and speaking of what I was talking about with Bethpage, I think it is going to be a putting contest to some degree, which is going to make some of the pairings really interesting. But the who are they going to pick? Like, really, if are you going to pick major champion and three-time Ryder Cupper Matt Fitzpatrick, who's showing a little bit of recent form, or Harry Hall, who has played really well, he hasn't really got it done. Otherwise, he didn't made the team. So like there's elements of all right. So if it's not Fitz, Hav, no, he's not gonna replace him. No, you're definitely gonna pick John Rahm. I mean, he had all those top tens this year. How could you not? Um, I just, I mean, the guy hasn't won in 2 years, and we're acting like he's the second coming still.
So if
Um,
you remove
but the
Rahm, if you remove Rom, and I'll let you finish, but I can just throw this in real quick because you drove the bus over him. He's currently 80th in the OWGR, and if you remove him from just their OWGR average, their average is 23 to our 11 in terms of OWGR ranking for the players on each team. But yeah, Rom comes in at 80th in the OWGR right now.
We didn't even take and the argument with Bryson's doing quite fine in the
Right.
OWGR still. Tyrrell's still doing fine in the OWGR. So Rom, you just haven't had good form. Um, I think all 12 of our guys are in the top 22 in the world, and that's without taking Keegan.
That's correct.
Like,
Yeah.
That would
Sandberg is
have
22nd.
that
12,
yeah,
12 of the 20 of the 24 players.
and really 13 of our players. We have 13 players in the top 22. We just didn't take one of them. In Keegan.
Yeah.
So I I don't know who else they would have picked. They talk about I for some reason it comes back into my head of, I get what they say. This is continuity. This is the European way. You're still coming over to the US. You still, outside of a weird fluky Medina situation, you really haven't won here you've won here what, one time in the last 25 years, 30 years, something like that. Like you don't get it done over here. And they talk about that like they're the French national team going up against Steph Curry and Durant. Like, you think that's all going to help you? That you guys know, it doesn't change the fact that Shane Lowry has been awful this year. It doesn't change the fact that Matt Fitzpatrick couldn't hit the ball forward for a couple of years.
And that's where it doesn't matter with them. That's the thing that's so astonishing. And maybe it's just when it happens on European soil, but like, I'll never forget 2 years ago feeling so defeated because I'm like, we should go in and absolutely wax them in Rome. And the exact opposite of that happened. Victor Hovland, Shane Lowry, Matt Fitzpatrick. Like, he didn't come in last year. I mean, he won at the country club, but then they just come in and all of a sudden they're world beaters. It's like there is this adrenaline that the European team gets when the Ryder Cup rolls around that we are completely unfamiliar with on this side of the pond, that their camaraderie and their level of play just gets elevated because we know these guys are all the best in the world, right? Like, it's not like there's some scrubs that are coming over from Europe to play. And it blows my mind every 2 years that, other than, I guess, was it Whistling Straits and we just boat raced them 4 years ago, it's wild how their play just elevates to a level that I can't comprehend.
Yeah. I mean, you talk about different players and stuff. I mean, Justin Rose putting in the Ryder Cup might be one of the best putters in the world, right?
Yeah.
Like, he makes everything. He makes
he's
everything.
putting at a bucket.
Yeah, but I think it was 19-9 the last time it was here.
Yeah, Whistling 19-9.
Yeah, it was. It was almost over Saturday.
It was close.
2016, I think there were still 3 or 4 matches that were out on the course and it was done. They don't win here. Like, they win over there, and that's totally fine. And we get to hear every 4 years about how great their team is and how bad our team is. And when we win over here, nobody's like, well, they've really figured it's just on America. Well, we're only both winning on home soil. That's it. So until somebody does something on opposing soil, both of them have it figured out. They just have it figured out every other year.
Yeah. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see. All right, so those are the teams, and that's kind of some thoughts there. We talked about Bethpage a little bit. They've planned out a number of these things in advance of where they're going to be for the next few ones. But I wanted to ask the question: what course would you love to see the Ryder Cup played at? And I guess we're probably more familiar with U.S. courses, so maybe we look at when the U.S. hosts it here in the near future. Where do you guys want to see it played? Is it somewhere that's been before and hadn't been there in a while, or somewhere different?
This is a good question. I mean, my first thought, just because I love the place, it was like, how stupid good would a Ryder Cup be at Landman? Like, Just massive
Yeah.
fairways that, and it's a behemoth of a golf course, and they could trick it up, and you could have 100,000 people out there.
The infrastructure for network and Wi-Fi might not be
Yeah,
there,
it'd be
but
challenging.
yeah. But man, have it there with the windsock fully unfurled, just whipping like 40,
Right,
50 miles an hour.
right.
That'd be fun. All right. That would be great. We'll see if we can get them in touch with you to host the Ryder Cup. But where else? I mean, one thought to my mind is the ocean course. Like, I would love to see it there.
Go
I think,
back to the war at
War
the
by the
shore.
shore.
yeah, yeah. I mean, why not, right? Like, it's an incredible course. I would rather see it. I would rather go watch the Ryder Cup there than another PGA.
So I got one for you.
I don't know. I think I view
If
it
you
as a
ran,
PGA course though now. I think it's held 4 PGAs since the last Ryder Cup. I just view it more as a PGA venue. Like that's a rota that's a course that the PGA, no matter if it's May or August, it can go to and it can have an awesome turnout. It can have an awesome setup. I have a hard time viewing that as a Ryder Cup venue now.
Hmm. I'd love to see it. All right, Kirsch, where are we going then?
I said it. I think I said it earlier. Maybe I said it before we started even recording. I'm the most excited about is the 2033 in at Olympic Club.
Yeah.
Watching the U.S. Amateur there this year, that stood out as what are we even doing? Like that doesn't need to host a PGA. That doesn't need to host a U.S. Open. That's a match play venue because of its just the topography, the questions that it asks you off the tee, the horrible spots you can end up just by missing your spot a little bit. I I'm excited for that one. My non-traditional answer would be what is seemingly my default go-to, which is Chambers Bay. Put it on the West Coast. Give me prime time, some prime time viewing. The PGA Tour needs to buy Chambers Bay, and they need to make a TPC Chambers Bay or something. And we need to have an event there a year or every other year in some sort of capacity. But the Ryder Cup there, it's untraditional. It's got the mounds for people to get up on. You can view it in different ways. It's not the easiest walk in the world because it is so sandy in the mounds, but you get that West Coast light both at Olympic and at Chambers. Sign me up for the West Coast
I would
USA.
love a West Coast Ryder Cup.
hmm
Well,
It's
we're
been
gonna
a
love.
while.
It has been a while. Has been a while. All right. Well, Kirsch, I guess your rant then earlier was it was all about Keegan.
It
Anything else you
was,
want to
yeah.
add to that?
No, I just I it sounds stupid, but like I'm genuinely proud that the guy did not do the dumb thing and did the right thing by what he accepted 18 months ago. Doesn't mean he deserved it. Doesn't mean that he doesn't deserve to be on this team. But if he's the winning Ryder Cup captain in New York City, where he went to St. John's, he's from the Northeast, and he gets to pull the selfless play of I didn't pick myself. I mean,
Yeah,
how awesome is that?
that would be pretty awesome. All right. Well, then let's get into some picks. I asked Jonathan since he wasn't going to be here. I said, "Give me a pick," and he said the U.S. team is going to win 16-12. So that's Jonathan's pick. I'd like to hear you guys, Mr. Decker. You want to start us off?
Sure. I think it is going to be much closer than that. I think the U.S. wins by a point. So we'll go, what is that, 15-13?
Okay, Mr. Kirsch.
So I did the math, and even counting the loss, so taking into account that they lost a Ryder Cup on U.S. soil by 1 point, they're still averaging winning by 5 over those Ryder Cups. That's how big of a beatdown it's been. Valhalla was 5, somewhere else was 6, 10 the last time out. 6 was Hazeltine, 10 the last time out. They lost the one there. So I mean, there have been instances. I do tend to agree with Josh though. And I think it's going to be 15, 13, so like 15 and a half, 12 and a half, 16, 12. I think it's four or less points,
Okay.
but it is a USA type of weekend.
There you go. All right. Well, I know we did this a couple years ago. We all picked the U.S. And we were all wrong. But as much as I'm going to be pulling for the U.S. team, I am going to say that Europe gets it done. And I'm going to go with the score that they got it done at Medina. And we're going to go 14 and a half to 13 and a half. And I'm going to have the European team because of experience, not only the number of Ryder Cups that each of them have played, but the experience of playing together as a team, as a unit, playing for the same captain. I think they get it done on the U.S. soil for the first time in 13 years. So I'm going Europe 14 and a half to 13 and a half.
And you're giving them,
But I'm
they don't even
cheering
have
hard
to
for
have
the
that
U.S.
half
for
of a
sure.
point, right?
So
They don't even have to have that half of a
yeah,
point. If they get to 14, they
yep,
keep.
yeah, I know. I'm gonna go ahead and give them the half to show it's a flat out win.
Win it outright.
Yeah, win it outright. Well, it'll be fun to watch. I do want to throw out that I had a question. I got to ask a question during the Ryder Cup
Yeah, you
press
did.
conference the other day, so that was kind of cool. Um, yeah, virtual media access through Best Ball, so very thankful for that. And I said, "Hey, I got a question," and they said, "Next up is Robbie Woodard." And I got to ask a question. It was really cool. I got a couple of texts right away, like, "What in the world was that?"
And then
Uh,
you got aggregated, right? You got aggregated out into Golf Magazine or Golf Digest. They did a write up, and your question and answer was one of
yeah,
the five things we learned out of the press conferences today was directly from you.
yeah. The answer. Yeah, one of the Golf Digest, I think, articles, something like that. One of the 5 or 6
Yeah.
tidbits from the press conference. So, I asked what we like to talk about at Best Ball. I mean, this is really the only like pro golf stuff that we do, right? Talk about the majors, the Ryder Cup, fun stuff like this. Best Ball, we're all about golf stories, and that's how we've met each of you guys. I know Jonathan and Curtis, y'all had a relationship prior to, but yeah, it's about people. It's about golf stories, and that was the kind of question I wanted to ask, and a lot of the people I've talked to really appreciated that. So that was a lot of fun. But we'll see if we can get maybe another question asked later on. Europeans did not have that same access, so I was not able to ask
Oh,
Luke Donald a question. I was trying to come up with a good one, but we'll see. Maybe later. So anyway, well, guys, it's been fun. Excited about the Ryder Cup. Looking forward to chatting about it with you guys and yeah, seeing what happens. So, any final comments before we wrap it up?
get in the mood early. Watch the Walker Cup this week. There's 3 hours on Peacock and 3 hours on Golf Channel, both Saturday and Sunday. It's at Cypress Point. I know no free ads in the world, but Fried Egg did a great video about Cypress Point this week. That is my kind of YouTube golf. But get in the spirit of the Ryder Cup and watch these 17, 18, 19, and Stu Hagestad.
And Stu, yeah. No, if you want to see the where we talked about these next few Ryder Cups coming, it's probably going to be a lot of these guys that are playing for both
Yeah.
Great Britain and Ireland and the U.S. team. So, and it's at Cypress Point, so everybody's bucket list course you get to watch on TV, which is going to look amazing. So,
Yep.
yeah, Decker, any final thoughts?
I was trying to think of what I would set the line at for arrests at Bethpage. come Ryder Cup. I just hope it's not absolute pandemonium like I'm afraid it's going to be.
They
And
will cut beer sales off, right?
I
We all
hope
agree with
so.
that. So at some point, beer sales will have to get cut off there.
I have a fear that it's going to turn out like the Waste Management a few years ago. But then, in one final thought, they will never do it. But how cool would it be if they scaled attendance way back and played it somewhere like Seminole, and like just the guys golf and not all the just the mess that I think this event has become. Something like that would be magical. But no, I'm excited. I'm looking forward to watching, tuning in. And I don't want the U.S. to lose, but I do think it would set some things in motion for some real overhaul and change of how the U.S. manages the Ryder Cup. So, but yeah, excited to watch, excited to tune in, and looking forward to it.
They'll form a committee if we lose.
For another committee to form another committee
I was
to.
gonna say, this was the whole blow up, right? This is
Yeah.
what, I think Gabby Herzik from The Athletic reported. Like they walked in and everybody said, bring three weird names. And they brought out two standard names. And all of a sudden it was like Keegan. It was Keegan and Ricky Fowler is allegedly who it came down to.
Wow.
Wow.
Can you imagine the U.S. team in all orange?
The Netherlands versus the other. Oh man, it'll be fun. It'll be fun. Is Keegan Bradley the Ted Lasso of U.S. Ryder Cup captains?
Remains to be seen.
Ooh.
Remains to be seen.
Unlikely choice.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Mm.
We will see. Guys, it's fun as always. Thank y'all for joining us, and thanks for those that have listened to this edition of the Ryder Cup of the BestBall Roundtable. Y'all have a good one.